Do you think mansplaining is a real thing?
Mansplaining?
Man what?
Plaining? Like explaining manhood? Or manscaping? Or what is that?
Oh.
We're not even 10 seconds into this video and it's already fantastic. This reporter is quickly learning that the real world isn't her gender studies classroom or her Facebook feed full of like-minded, self-righteous, 30-something childless New York liberal friends. It turns out that nobody really knows what mansplaining is because it isn't a real problem.
You're talking about men wanting or liking to explain everything like that.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I knew what mansplaining was, and I was pretty certain they knew it too. I just had to get them talking long enough to prove it.
We'll see whether or not she's right about that. Here's a spoiler though. She's completely wrong. Let's watch.
Do you ever interrupt people when they're trying to tell an anecdote or something like that?
Not at all.
You never interrupt people?
No. I don't do that myself, so I haven't seen that in my workplace at all.
Oh.
So.
Well, I don't ever do that. I've learned to keep quiet, so my opinions stay here and don't reach this part.
Wow, I think that Mike may have actually made a major discovery. I don't believe that I've ever seen a more emasculated dude than this guy right here. Seriously, man, you've learned to keep quiet? I try to avoid ad hominem, I know, but that's just pathetic. Have some backbone and stand up for yourself.
Giving up. So I'm just along for the ride nowadays.
Now, it
I
doesn't...
used to drive the bus, but now I'm just a passenger.
Okay, he wouldn't let her speak, but I felt that the tiny woman was trying to communicate with me. So I followed her wordless directions and started talking to women.
This is your brain on feminism. A dad makes the right choice and doesn't subject his young daughter to a random street interview, and of course, the feminist frames it as the man not letting the woman speak.
Have you ever been interrupted by a guy?
All the time.
Has she ever been interrupted by a girl? Why wasn't that question asked?
My family, most of the time. My dad maybe interrupts me and says, no, this is not right. And I'm like, it is. This is like a man thing you have in your head.
Maybe that's because he's older and wiser than you and actually does know better. I'm not saying she should be interrupted, but using this as an example of misogyny is kind of a reach. Also, if a man were to say something like, women have that over-emotional complex thing inside their head, don't even pretend like this intrepid reporter wouldn't be crying sexism.
It made me wonder, what was this man thing inside their heads? I wanted to crack one open like an egg, but my producer, who is a man, told me no.
I know, it's boring to call out double standards, but just think for a second what would happen if a man made a joke like that about cracking open women's heads. Feminists would freak out and it would be the end of the world, but it's totally okay for her to say it about men.
I think that sometimes when a man just knows he's right, he's right.
I mean, maybe sometimes women talk for too long, that's it.
Talk for too long?
I mean, we can kind of explain the same thing, but twice as fast.
Yeah, that's not politically correct, but it is true. And to be fair, either gender can be guilty of rambling and taking too long to get to the point. There are quite a few guys like that right here on YouTube who will regularly stretch 3 minutes of content into a 10-minute video. I wonder why that is.
I don't necessarily think men interrupt women, but I think sometimes in conversation you have to interrupt certain people.
I think it depends on the type of man you are. I've never really felt that men interrupt women. I actually feel women interrupt men.
Had he given her his man thing?
Whoa, hold on a second, shut it down. That's not what they're supposed to say. Even the dude who seemed most sympathetic to the mansplaining myth earlier on is challenging this feminist reporter's worldview. Let's see how that plays out.
So he never interrupts you?
No, I really don't.
Suddenly, the little woman's message became so clear to me. Men don't know when they're talking.
So, in the face of new information, in the face of new testimony that directly challenges her hypothesis, this reporter girl isn't doing any introspection and thinking, maybe I'm wrong about the whole mansplaining thing. Nope. She's just doubling down and completely ignoring what most of the women told her.
If you know that you're being a misogynistic person, then you can at least know how to change it. But if you don't realize that what you are doing is
naive,
demeaning
yeah.
to people, then you're not gonna.
Whoa, hold on a second. What do we have here?
You are doing is
naive,
demeaning
yeah.
to people, then you're not gonna.
I was under the impression that this reporter had a major problem with people interrupting others while they're speaking, but what just happened there? Did she just interrupt that guy while doing an interview about how interrupting people is rude? I love this current year.
And know how to fix it. The bigger problem is that men don't realize that they're mansplaining when they do mansplain.
I thought that naming this phenomena would allow us to see it more clearly, but the denial was deafening.
And here we see it again. It's not that my ideas are wrong, says the feminist. It's that everyone else is in denial. Well, maybe not, Allie. Maybe mansplaining just isn't a real issue. Maybe the happy couples you talked to earlier were right and you're wrong. Maybe the type of woman that complains about mansplaining is the same type of woman that works at Mike and dates around till her late 30s, when her mom's jokes about finding a husband are starting to get a little bit less funny, and the crippling realization that she won't ever experience the joy of motherhood is beginning to set in as she surveys a Facebook wall replete with pictures of smiling children on the first day of kindergarten, posted by her female former classmates who are now enjoying happy married life. Where were we? Oh, yeah, right, mansplaining.
I reflected upon the practices of the little woman. Speak softly and carry a big balloon.
And I suppose that's it. So, what did we learn from this video exactly? I guess you can take a positive message away from the video, and that is that most of the people on the street, the real people, not the New York 30-something media circuit types, they don't think mansplaining is a real issue. I know that the internet and the media can make us think that everyone in the world is super concerned with social justice and feminism, but thankfully, that just isn't true. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a pretty good thing.